Hello and welcome to the Empower Hour. Happy Sunday Fun Day. I hope you got some plans to have some fun today, but we thank you for joining us if you're watching us live and making time in your day to join us. We got a pretty loyal following every Sunday morning for people that join us live. The rest of you will watch us on the replay or on YouTube. And if you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and hit that like button, like and subscribe button, and share this, comment on it so we can get this thing a little bit viral. These are always useful tips that ex Jehovah Witnesses can use as they strive to move their lives forward. And that's the key. We always want to be moving forward in life, step at a time, inch at a time, constantly moving forward. Like they say, inch by inch, life is a cinch, but yard by yard, sometimes it can feel hard. So let's get into it today. Today, we're talking about overcoming self sabotage. How many of you find yourself sabotaging yourselves in various areas of life? Well, today we're going to address two things in particular since we have limited time. One will be success, sabotaging your success in your careers financially and where you want to go in life and creating the life that you want, and the other will be relationships. So we'll cover these two topics and we'll see how far we can get today on these two very important topics. I choose these topics because these are the two topics that most people talk to me about when I'm helping them and coaching them. So let's talk about success in general. Life can be difficult if we do not have the financial freedom that we seek. Like, life can be difficult if we're always having problems with our finances. Life can be difficult if we're not living the life that we want, or have the options that we want to live as we wish, to enjoy life on our terms. And it does take a degree of success to do that. So many people find themselves just not being able to create the lives that they dream of. They're not able to step it up financially. When they do well, somehow they sabotage it. People sabotage opportunities. There's some people that are involved in sales that they have one good month and the next month is horrible, and somehow, some way, they just stay in that same space, that same comfort zone. Why is that? Why do we sabotage our opportunities? Why do we sabotage our finances many times? It's because our minds operate a certain way. And let me describe how our minds operate. We have three components of our mind: our conscious, our subconscious, and our super subconscious mind. At a young age, we were given our idea and our beliefs about things like money and success. Subconsciously, we were wired to see the world a particular way. We were wired to see ourselves a particular way. That wiring that's on a subconscious level is put there mainly through repetition, to what you hear over and over and over again. And being raised a Jehovah's Witness, we were given certain ideas about money, about success, about doing well for ourselves in that way. We were always made to feel like that was not important, even though you spend 40 hours a week doing it, that it was not important. Witnesses were encouraged to get very menial jobs. You know, Even when someone worked for themselves, they would tend to be, window washing, house cleaning, and things like that. And nothing wrong with those things, but we were not taught. We were taught to just sustain ourselves, not to really, you know, hit for the fences in that way. We were told that the people that lived on the hillside, the people who had long lasting marriages and good children and contributing to the community, people who have done well for themselves, were the goats. Because on the hillside, we didn't place any magazines. Witnesses tend to be busy saying, when Armageddon comes in a new order, I'm going to have that house. We just, so silly. We're just going to take over the house. That person worked hard for that house, and we just going to move on in in a new order. We used to say silly things like that, right? And we would call them the goats, even though these people were living an exemplary life, kept the family together, kids going to college, did everything the right way, planned for their retirement. Those are the goats. But the sheep was down the hill. That was the neighborhoods where people were really struggling. The neighborhoods where daddy was in prison and mama's got a bunch of kids and she's struggling to get off of drugs and you got to lock your car. Well, that's where you placed all your magazines. Those were the sheep, right? So the people who really lost their way in life were the sheep. Those were the good ones. See how twisted that thinking is? Because they took our magazines, so they're the sheep. Because those people listened to us because they needed a hope. Their lives were so miserable and they were so far down the hole and they were really lost in life. So when we came with the hope, they listened to us because they needed something. The people on the hillside, they were living it. What we were saying wasn't all that appealing. They probably looked at the car we rolled up in and said, nah, that's okay. I'm doing good. So we got this twisted view, not understanding that money just gives you opportunities. It doesn't make you evil. I mean, you would hear the Bible verse all the time that it's easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter the kingdom of God, something like that, right? And those ideas that it was wrong. Now, what makes more sense? If you're gonna work 40 hours anyway, making minimum wage or making $200 an hour, same work. You're just getting more money if you're working smarter and not harder. You get more options. You get more options. Money and finances and success means more options. All success does is make you more of who you are. So if you are a horrible person, it'll probably make you more horrible. It gives you more access to do bad things, yes. But if you're a good person, you're going to do more good things. You're going to add more value to people's lives. So we get that idea in our subconscious mind. Again, getting back to how the mind works, when you're given all these ideas about money on a subconscious level, and then you leave the witnesses, and your conscious desire is for more, is to be more successful, then your subconscious programming will sabotage your efforts. It works to keep you where your program beliefs are. So you won't understand, why did I blow that? Why did I sabotage that? Because your subconscious beliefs were wired by the Jehovah's Witnesses, who told you over and over again to live a very menial life. Don't go to college. Don't learn more. Don't strive for more. The new order is right around the corner. You don't need it. And then the third part of your mind, the super subconscious, is always trying to make you correct about your subconscious beliefs. That's how your mind works. So for us to begin to allow ourselves to elevate and to up level, we have to address our subconscious programming. We need to rewire it. Like the old cassette tapes back in the day, right? If we didn't want to buy a new tape, we would record over it. We need to record a new song. We need to record something new that is what we want to hear today. So we need to reprogram the subconscious mind. We struggle a lot with success because of what we think we're worthy of. Again, you weren't allowed to think very much of yourself as a witness. You were told not to. You're not supposed to think too much of yourself. So if you don't think much of yourself, then you're not worthy. So how are you going to build success when you're not worthy of it? Thinking well of yourself is not a bad thing, as long as you think well of the person next to you. Am I supposed to think small of myself and think small of the person next to me? That doesn't make a very fun world to live in. Everyone doubting themselves? No, I am supposed to feel that I'm worthy of the very best, and so are you. You are worthy. And when you think of yourself as worthy, of more, you will have more. Your outer world is always going to reflect your inner dialogue. Whatever you're believing up here, you will experience out here. It's just a reflection of what you believe that you're worthy of. And you will always create that. Until you think you're worthy of more, you will not have more. If you want an amazing life, you got to think you're an amazing person. You've got to be a match for it. You've got to be a match for what you desire. The witnesses gave us a wrong belief about confidence. So many people, when they leave the religion, don't have much confidence in themselves because they equated confidence with conceit, with thinking too much of yourself. Confidence and conceit are not the same thing. Confidence is something that you should be. You should look at where you thrive in life. You should look at all the things you worked hard for, and it should give you confidence. You should feel good. You should have pride. You should stand tall. Confidence and conceit is not the same thing. If I'm confident in myself and I see what's great in the person next to me, I don't think I'm better. I just know who I am and I can see who that person is. It's not the same thing. Everyone should be confident. It's a birthright. It's something that we take away from little children as they grow. Little children, for the most part, think they are the bomb diggity. Little children will run around and believe whatever they want to believe about themselves. And then we hijack them. We go, no, that's not what's important. This is important. And we start programming them with our thoughts. And then religion programs them, and the school system programs them, and they get so disconnected from who they are. Of course, they're not confident because they're disconnected from self. So learn to be confident. It's okay. There's something you do so well, better than most people you know. Don't play small. Don't play that down. Build that up. As long as you're humble enough to learn. See, if you understand that in life you can be a student and a teacher at the same time, that's not conceit. When you recognize that somebody is greater than you at what you're great at, and you see it, it's not a competition. You're just trying to be the best you can be. And the best you can be should be confident within self. To move past what we're comfortable with. You see, the mind is always trying to stay in its comfort zone. And we sabotage ourselves when we rise above our comfort zone. So the way your mind works is here's your floor and here's your ceiling. And this is your belief of who you are. The only way you move forward in life is to make your ceiling your new floor. Because what happens in life is when you fall under your floor, you do anything. You will work 4 jobs to elevate your life back to your comfort zone. If something happened in your life and you and your children were living in a really impoverished way and there's roaches and rats running all over the place, and that was below what you were used to, you will do anything to come back to your comfort zone because your worthiness is not being matched. You follow me? So you do anything to come back here. But when you go above your ceiling, you tend to sabotage yourself to come back here because your super subconscious mind is always trying to make your world match your beliefs. That's why if you're in sales and you have one monster month, biggest month you've ever had, typically the next month you'll have one of the worst months you ever had. And that's to balance you back out to your comfort zone. So the goal in life is to make your ceiling your new floor and do it again and do it again and do it again. That is how you keep moving in life. Sometimes we sabotage our lives because we care too much about what other people think. You've got to be okay with outgrowing people. You can't pull the same people your whole life. You can't. If you care what people think, you won't go anywhere because some people don't grow. And the people that don't grow, they need everything to stay the same. People who don't grow complain about any time something changes. When a building gets taken down and a new building gets put in their place, they're mad at that. They always want yesterday. They don't grow. And they want you to stay the same as yesterday also. Witnesses as a whole don't grow. People in that religion don't grow. They grow with their new light, right? But they don't grow because they're just regurgitating the same information over and over again. So if the judgment and the opinions of people from that world affect you, they'll keep you from growing. If you put a bunch of crabs in a bucket and one crab figures out how to get out, instead of observing that crab and following the example that crab is showing, because we can all get out if we do what that crab is doing, they pull that crab back down. That's what crabs do. That's a crab in the bucket mentality. And lots of people will try to pull you down as you try to go for your dreams. So you can't care what people think. Most people can only see life through their own lenses. They can't see life through the lens of somebody else. So if they think they can't do something, they will tell you you can't do something. Learn to invalidate those people. Another thing that helps us to sabotage our lives is that we were raised in a atmosphere of fear. Witnesses control people with fear. That's what they do. There's all kinds of fear. You're fearing Armageddon. You're fearing losing your friends if you leave. You're fearing displeasing Jehovah. You're fear of offending somebody, stumbling somebody. Fear, 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 fear. And that fear will seep into other areas of your life. And with fear comes the inability to move with courage. And the only thing that's going to move your life forward is courage. And if you're courageous, if you live by your creed, if you live by your truth, you will disappoint people. There's no getting around that because other people have ideas upon your life that they try to push on you. And if you live with courage, you will disappoint people. Courage is moving through that. Courage is being to move through your self doubt, through other people's doubt. Courage allows you to move with boldness, and courage needs to be heavier than fear. Courage needs to be here. Fear needs to, there's always a level of fear. Don't get me wrong, but courage needs to weigh more in your life. Some of us sabotage ourselves because we've always had a temporary mindset. This system doesn't matter. I was told I wouldn't graduate. Now I have a grandchild. Isn't it crazy? So temporary mindset. So why really strive? Why put in the time and the sacrifice to move your life forward when the end's coming? The witnesses were saying way back in the late 60s, don't go to college. You'll never use it. Well, that was 50 years ago. The people who took that advice are now elderly with no savings, no retirement, didn't plan to be here, no options because they listened to what a religion said. But for all of us, we were all given a temporary mindset. So getting rid of this temporary mindset and living life with a view for the long term. We got to live for the long term because as you get older, you realize that time goes by very quickly. And we have to live a life that plans for that. Let's move to relationships and why we may sabotage relationships or have a difficult time with relationships. Again, this is another big one, right? Well, our minds tend to want to seek the known. And what was the known? When we were Jehovah Witnesses, what was the known? Sometimes what the mind knows is not good for us, but it knows what it knows, so it always seeks to repeat what it knows. And that's why for a lot of you relationships are tough because you keep creating the same dynamic over and over again. So you have to understand that's how your mind works. It's always seeking to validate what it knows. And we've got to get comfortable at breaking outside of that. Whether we're talking about relationships or success, remember this. What you desire is outside your comfort zone. I'll say that again. What you desire and don't have exists outside your comfort zone because if it was within your comfort zone, you'd already have it. So get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Sometimes we sabotage relationships because we are so used to being disappointed. We're so used to being abandoned, especially with the religion and family stepping away from us. And maybe you lost the relationship because you left the religion. That sometimes you step away from a relationship because you want to disappoint before you get disappointed. It's always the person who's left that hurts more. So sometimes you want to be the one to end it first. So you may sabotage the relationship to save yourself some hurt. That happens a lot. Sometimes you can find your Prince Charming or your princess and sabotage it because you don't feel worthy of the person. You just don't feel worthy. You were so used to the way maybe your father was or your mother was growing up, and maybe you got in a relationship that was not good and it, just verbally abusive in different kinds of ways. And then someone treats you the way you should be treated, and you sabotage it because that's not what you're used to. If let's take the example of a woman. If a woman was in a household where dad was just horrible with the mom, and then she got in a horrible marriage where the person was verbally abusive and just walked all over her, and then that marriage ends and she gets with somebody that treats her like a princess, the person she will be more likely to be unfaithful to is the person that treated her well. And she will do it with somebody that was of her comfort zone. That happens a lot because it's just not comfortable. And people keep creating the chaos that was the norm in their life over and over and over again. And they will sabotage very good things to create the chaos because the chaos is the norm. Even though you hate it, even though you want it to stop, it's the norm. So we tend to create that over and over and over again. Sometimes relationships can be challenging because we put too much responsibility on another person, too much expectation. Whenever people say that person completes me, that means you brought an incomplete person to the table. That's tough. You're putting that pressure on another person, not doing the work yourself. That's a lot for a person to take. It scares a lot of people off when you're burdening them with, you have to complete me, you have to fill the void. Whatever's wrong with me is on you to fix. We don't want to do that. Sometimes we have to realize when we're not in the position to be in a relationship. Coming out of the religion and coming out of all these things, life is changing so much. Sometimes you need time for yourself to find yourself. But for a lot of people coming out of the religion, the first thing they do is to go straight into a relationship. Understandable, because you've lost so much, you've lost so many people. It's a human desire to gravitate to somebody who can soften that blow. I did it, right? So it's understandable. But sometimes you have to understand when it's time for you to focus on you. So you give it a chance when you do meet someone because you're bringing a more complete person to the table. Remember, we're only going to attract people of the level of where we are. So if we feel broken, we're going to attract another broken person. I remember once when, this is about a decade ago, and I was at a networking event and I met somebody. I'm like, my God, that person checks all the boxes. Wow, that's the one, man. That's the kind of woman I've always wanted. And then I looked at myself and said, dude, you're a mess. You don't qualify. It would take her 30 days to figure out how much of a mess I was. And I realized I was a mess. I needed to focus on me. And we got to be real with ourselves when we're in that space. When you're alone, I think it's a great time to do the self-work. That's a great time to read the books, to take courses and classes, to get the counseling you need so that you're not burdening another person with a broken person, because that person will tend to be broken themselves. And a lot of times we gravitate to people that we can fix. Like, we don't want to fix ourselves. I'd rather fix you. And they're saying the same thing. You got two people trying to merge their mess together, and that's difficult to work out. So understand when you're in a season where you should be focusing on you. Sometimes relationships have a hard time because there's no sense of self. Again, that time that you spend getting to know yourself when you're by yourself gives you a better opportunity to present something that you know to another person. But when you're coming out of the witnesses and you haven't taken time to know yourself because a religion defined yourself and you don't know who you are at all that's going to happen is you're going to morph into what you think this other person wants instead of being truly authentic and knowing who you are, presenting that. So get a sense of self. Know you. Know you first. Understand your priorities. Understand your love languages. Again, when you're a witness, you didn't understand that. You know, if you got married when you were a witness, you probably got married young. I call it a sex license. You didn't know the person. You just didn't want to get in trouble, right? So you got married young. You didn't know your priorities were. Most of us came right out of mama or daddy's house and right into a marriage. We didn't know what our priorities were. We didn't know what was important to us. Well, Jehovah's important. They acted like those the three chords, whatever they used to say, right? Like that's the only important thing. No, you have to know your priorities. You need to know your love languages. You have to know how you communicate. You have to know how you look at the world and what your vision is for the future. All these things that you never discuss when you're a witness because you don't get to spend the time with the person, right? You got a chaperone with you. You don't really have those intimate conversations. You marry a stranger. Well, now it can't be like that. You got to know these things. You don't want to get so entangled with somebody and figure out that you look at the world completely differently. So know yourself. People tend to lose themselves in relationships a lot, especially women coming out of the JWs, because you weren't given any importance in the JWs. It was all about your husband. If you were married in the JWs, all about your husband. Your voice didn't matter. What you wanted didn't matter. You were just a support to your husband. No, don't lose yourself in your relationship. You know, if you have a relationship, make sure you keep a sense of autonomy, a sense of you. Don't lose yourself. And again, for a lot of marriages, it falls apart because people lose themselves. That person you're married to is not interesting anymore because all you do is mimic me. So now the new secretary at the office is intriguing me, right? Because she's a different person. People get bored with that because you're not being true to you. Be true to you. Never lose your sense of autonomy. People shouldn't make you give up who you are. Then they get fascinated by somebody else. No, it doesn't work like that. With the JWs, they programmed you with these roles, these outdated roles. This is 2024. And I'm not saying those roles are necessarily wrong, but definitely they need to be updated because they don't work anymore. A woman just being walked over, just like having no sense of self, that doesn't work today. Updated, you could be old fashioned with a modern day twist if people still want to live in a similar way, but you need to upgrade to 2024. It's not going to work very often. I don't want to use absolutes, but understand who you are in today's day and age. Witnesses were always referring you back to a 2,000-year-old book, which has some great advice, but it needs to be updated. You got to look at the world we live in today. You can't just apply a book that old to everything that's going on today. Life is far more complex. Understand what you want in life. Understand what you want and hold to that. Don't give that up. Respect your boundaries, respect the boundaries of another person. And if you do these things, you might have some success, right? But stop sabotaging. Stop getting into things that you want to sabotage. If you're sabotaging good relationships, even with friendships, understand that you got work to do. If you're undermining things for no reason, you got work to do. And be honest when you have work to do. Okay, so let's bring the panel up. Christine, Bree, Gary, Judy. Welcome, everyone.
Hi.
Okay, so who wants to go first? Bree, your camera, I don't see your face on the screen. Maybe she's frozen. I think Bree might be frozen. Okay, well, who wants to go first on this topic? Let's go, Judy.
Well, I was just thinking that the beginning part there where you talked about money and how being raised as a JW warps that, and how it really was kind of like a blanketed thing that, people who had material possessions and material success somehow were not spiritually minded people. It was almost like a competition, like when you were pioneering as to how poor you were. How much you struggled financially, like that somehow made you a better or a more spiritual person. When in effect, I think, like, now looking back on it in retrospect, we probably were the most judgmental people, always very surface, very, making blanket statements, talking about, like you said, the people up on the hill, the people in the rich neighborhoods. Nobody wanted to go into those neighborhoods because they didn't want our material that we had, because we viewed it as like they already had their paradise, so they didn't need anything extra. And so we kind of just made that blanket thing and then transferred it over to ourselves. Like, if I was somehow successful, or that took a long time after leaving to realize that success isn't something bad, and money isn't bad. Money provides, the love of money. Or, like you said, if you're a bad person, you're just going to have more access to be a bad person because you have money. But money affords you to have comforts, to live a better life, to be a better person, and to be able to give back to the community, which, as witnesses, we really couldn't do. I mean, I pioneered for 15 years and, never was able to do what I'm doing now, because I am somewhat monetarily successful, and successful in my job allows me to do stuff that, I don't know if I kind of feel like I'm talking in circles here, but just thought about how it takes a long time to undo that view of success and monetary things as somehow selfish and bad, and that poor people are somehow better, have a better heart than other one. Who are we to judge? We have absolutely no idea. What your W-2 has nothing to do with who you are as a person and what is inside. And we just lost our commander-in-chief. He's not on the screen anymore.
Hello. We're rolling with it.
Yeah. Who would like to go next? There he is.
There you go.
I don't know what happened. I kicked out of my own podcast. Yeah, Judy, you're so correct. It's almost as if they worked hard to not be successful, right? And it's just the mindset. It's just doing things smarter, not harder, right? And also with the witnesses, they don't teach their members to move the way the organization does. The organization is smart with money. I mean, they're into real estate, they're investing money, they're taking your money and doing things they don't teach you to do with it. Right? So they're telling you that all these things aren't important. They're telling you that the time is right around the corner. Well, if that was true, then why are you invested in all these things that you're invested in? Right? They're always making moves and putting kingdom halls or congregations together and selling properties and selling all kinds of stuff. They are very shrewd with money and always looking for more and always looking for more donations. Yet you're not supposed to be looking for more in your life, really? Right? So, such good insights, Judy. And also for women, right? That's something that's a longer stretch for women, because women definitely weren't taught to seek any kind of financial stability for themselves, right? You're just relying on the man and maybe doing something small on the side. But women can dream too. Women have gifts and talents and abilities. They can dream too. And you're not really encouraged to do that. I mean, how many successful women did you know as a Jehovah Witness? Not very many. Not very many had a business or had dreams or was a go-getter out there. So that's a big shift to make, saying, you know what, I can be whoever I choose to be. And it's not about pleasing somebody else's idea of what should be. Thank you. Next, Gary.
Yeah, the witnesses have, as they do with almost everything, a very bizarre interpretation of what materialistic means. I don't think many people think of having a materialistic mindset is a good thing, but it is a mindset. It has nothing to do with how much we have or don't have, what we did to get what we have, or what we did to get what we don't have, or in other words, to be poor. It's just a mindset. How important is it to you compared to other things that are more important, relationships and people and goals. I mean, I remember some very low on the economic scale witnesses who were probably the most materialistic people I've ever known. Because if somebody buys a new car, oh, did you see the car that so and so just bought? I don't know how she can afford that. It's like, what? Who cares what this? So they're actually putting more importance on materialistic things than the people that have it. And then when you look at like a Warren Buffett, one of the most wealthy men in the world, has anybody ever seen Warren Buffett's house? I actually haven't, but from what I understand, it's very modest. He lives in Omaha, Nebraska, not New York City, not Los Angeles, not Paris, any of these great cities. He's worth billions and billions and hundreds of billions of dollars probably, but I wouldn't regard him as materialistic with it, because it's not the most valuable thing to him. So if we get past that idea that materialistic means we have too much, or we work too hard for it. We worked 60 hours a week, and if we had worked 40, we would have had more time for something else. If we just get past that idea that materialism is anything but just a mindset that we can have or not have, it's up to us. So I mean, to me, if you're like, we're talking about saving for retirement, well, that's one of the topics that is popular with ex-JWs, because JWs don't do that. They don't have IRAs and 401ks. Those are United States vehicles, but they don't have things like that typically, because they think it's wrong to, or it's not worth their time to get those things. Well, to me, I don't care if you've got $100,000 in an IRA or $10 million in an IRA. That is a good thing to have. Nobody should criticize you for having a very, very comfortable retirement that maybe you won't even outlive it. Maybe you'll just pass it on to your heirs, which is that's such a wonderful thing to be able to do, to pass on wealth to the next generation. It is one of the things we would do to provide for them. So again, but materialism is just a mindset. Don't take it seriously.
I remember when I was a witness, there was one brother who had a construction firm, and he employed, I don't know how many witnesses. I mean, he was one of the more successful contractors where I lived. So many people worked for him, and he was a multimillionaire. He was an elder, but he's a multimillionaire. And the economy went upside down, and the construction stopped, and he got in some financial problems and had to lay everybody off. His company actually went away, and now he's on the assembly when he had his downfall, talking about it like it was a good thing, talking about it like, well, now I can focus on blah blah blah. And now this man who put food on the table for I don't know how many families, like everybody, it seemed like everybody worked for him, right? And now this is a good thing. I'm like, this is twisted. He lost his house, and he had to downsize, and People lost their jobs, and you were acting like this was a good thing. I was still a witness going, this is bizarre. Like, okay, now like this, and I don't know, I couldn't understand it. And eventually he turned it around, started a new company, became very successful again. And it's a twisted way of thinking. I remember I was also one of those people. I employed about 20 Jehovah Witnesses when I had my business. And I remember going out in service, and I had a beautiful black Jaguar, very nice car. And I raised my hand that my car was available for to take people. And he said, I always remember this, Brother Allgood, okay, we're not going to use your car. It might give the householders the wrong impression. Like my car was too nice to use in service. Twisted thinking. Well, maybe they might listen if we roll up in that. Right? I don't know. But it was just twisted thinking. It's just a car, right? But you're judging based on silly things. And it's things like this that give people that idea that something's wrong with it. But when you really look at what materialistic is, okay, so let's put this in perspective. Does anybody get judged for buying a $30,000 car, a new car? It's not very much in today's world. But that person makes $50,000 a year and buys a $30,000 car. And this other person makes $500,000 a year and buys a $70,000 car. Who's more out of their budget? Who's more materialistic, really? Right? But it's a twisted way of thinking. And this is why people can never get on their feet, because they're looking at things the wrong way. And at the end of the day, when we get older and we don't have anything and we don't do simple things that could really offset things, something simple like getting a life insurance policy when we're young, right, can really change our lives as we get older. These simple things that we're not taught. It's not important. It's all about the new world, right? So it's changing the mindset. Next, Christine.
Mhm. Hello, everyone. As I've been listening today and just, thinking about all of the shares, it's, we can look at where we learn the skills that we have right now, or maybe there's something in your life that you don't want or you want to change, and we know most of where the root has come from. And the next part is learning the tools or the skills to have what you want, whether it's in finances, relationships, and stuff like that. And I relate to your story when you're talking about dating. And in 2018, I had a really bad depression. I now realize, I was coming home to myself in that sense, or learning what do I believe and what do I really want in life. And just in processing that, I really started to look at mindset and also how to be a whole person in a relationship. Because my training ground, when I went for marriage counseling, we were going to the pastor, and then we found out halfway through that he was having an affair with the secretary. And I was like, oh, this is so cheap. Like, I don't even want to listen to this advice anymore. I was just like, the advice or the path that I had, now I'm at a stage where I'm like, okay, I'm going to look for something that resonates more, and to be able to learn in the way that I want to, so that I can feel good from within and be that whole person. And so that's an invitation I feel for anyone who's listening, is whatever it is that you want to grow or work on in your life. Awesome. There's so many people, probably even in the ex-Jehovah's Witness community, that can help you get to that goal, because we've either been through it or we teach on that kind of thing. And so I think it's really neat that we have these opportunities to go and get or learn whatever it is that we want.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing I want to stress is, even though we've referenced money, money does not equate success. Success is whatever you deem it is. So whatever, some people might have a calling in life that has nothing to do with making money or doesn't make a lot of money. But if they do it and they are adding value to other people, they're wildly successful. So let's not just make it about money. Success is you being happy and being fulfilled. Okay, next. Bree?
think for myself, whether it's financial or whether it's relationship wise, the root of all of my subconscious patterns that I'm trying to overcome is worthiness and self-esteem and feeling as if I have value, or especially with money. When you take money, money is a value. It's just an exchange of value. So whenever you learn that our viewpoints or our subconscious thinking or patterns is reflective of whether or not we feel we earn or we are of value of whatever amount of money. And especially in relationships, whether it's romantic or otherwise, like most issues in relationships are just a mirror of our own reflection of ourselves. And so if there's an issue that comes up, or it's not necessarily our thinking or the other person's thinking or mindset towards us, it's a reflection of how we view ourselves if there's an issue. So just learning to build ourselves up and heal whatever subconscious beliefs about ourselves, and seeing our love and our value for ourselves has been truly helpful for me.
Awesome. Thank you. All true. Love it. Judy?
Just thinking the whole topic of this avoiding self-sabotage, that, realizing in our XJW community, especially for those of us who are raised in, to realize where that's coming from. Because, kids today, maybe we see that they're saying, you can be anything that you want to be. Well, we weren't taught that. We're like, you can be a pioneer when you grow up, or you can be, you can be an elder. We were taught like self-confidence was conceit. And it was something we were not supposed to think more of ourselves than is necessary. And especially as women. So I think like having this group and realizing where those negative things come from, that it's not our fault, and to, unprogram when they come up in your mind, to reset how you view that, what you say to yourself, to avoid the negative self-talk, and to know, like you had mentioned, that self-confidence and conceit are two different things. And being good at something is something to be proud of and to share with others, and know that you can always get better. And, and then to seek out people that you admire, and that's who you surround yourself with. We're not forced into a community of like this ready-made community that, otherwise, let's face it, some people would have never been your friend. You just happen to go to the same congregation as them. And now we get to choose who our associates are.
Yeah, worthiness that comes from within is real. When you're a witness, worthiness is exterior. You ever notice like somebody who's been an elder, when they get deleted, they go from just looking like Superman to shrinking to become Clark Kent? Like your superpower is gone. Now it's like you were the grand poobah. You were the person that had all the advice, and now you don't have the title. Now you're no one. Now suddenly you're not wise anymore. I can't go to you for advice anymore, because your cape is gone. Your superpower is gone. Now you're just a mortal. It could be a woman that was a pioneer and she comes off the pioneer list. Now she's just a publisher, right? So this wasn't confidence that came from within. A wise man is a wise man without a title. I mean, if that was the guy to go for advice, just because he came off the elders list, he should still be the person to go for it to advice, because he's wise. Maybe he had some things he had to work on in his personal life, but doesn't make him any less wise because it doesn't have the title. But in the witness religion, that's how it is. I know people that they are so sheepish. When they got removed as an elder, they've never been the same. They're just like little people now. And when they were elders, they were just like a superpower. No, it comes from within. No title can give it or take it away. So let's go to the relationship part. What did y'all get out of the discussion of relationships, Gary?
Well, it's a very, very complicated topic, so you could go in any number of directions with it. But one thing I was thinking of is how, well, you talked about how witnesses typically get married pretty young, and not to be critical of any particular marriage, but it's not unusual for them to be just what was mentioned, that they really didn't know each other. But when you think about it, the first relationship we have of that kind, where we want it to be right, is the organization. The JWs would say it's our relationship with God that's the most important, but frankly, what it really is the relationship with the organization. And I think it's very rare to find somebody that did not at one point in their life feel that this is the truth and they wanted it to be the truth. That's the way I always was. I wanted it to be the truth. Even after they basically kicked me out, I still wanted it to be the truth. And you'll defend it, and because it's, everything I've been taught is correct, and this hope of living forever in the paradise, it's just such a beautiful idea. So we want it to be right. And then when we find somebody we want to marry, we kind of do the same thing. We kind of say, oh, how handsome this guy is, how beautiful this woman is, and how polite and kind he is, or how generous she is. And we just have an ideal that this has to be the person for me. Maybe it is, but maybe it's not. So we miss red flags, and we can even miss our own red flag. In other words, the red flags that we might be showing to another person and not recognizing it. And that's something, frankly, that I've seen in myself quite recently, where I realized that, wow, for these, this relationship and that relationship to have gone sour, that other person really was not able to process emotional and vulnerability issues very well. And then I thought, well, what did I bring to the table? When they were having a meltdown or whatever it was, what did I do about it? Well, maybe it was a red flag that I shouldn't even have been in that relationship, but it still has to teach us something about ourselves. And that is that maybe we're not the perfect ideal for another person, that might be fine. It might be that there's just two people that should be pursuing someone else, or it could be that maybe I need to respond to things a little bit differently. So, like I said, it's a very complicated topic, but I think it kind of goes back with post JWs. It very often goes back to this idea that we had to fit that organization, and then later on that spouse, we had to fit them into the idea that we already had them in. Like we saw them as being a certain kind of person, and they have to be that kind of person.
Yeah, as JWs, you don't really know the person most times, right? So it's like there might be a physical attraction, and then does this person check the spiritual boxes? Okay, they do. Okay, it's on. And you get to know the person after you committed and you say, I do. So that's a very difficult way to start a relationship. Judy?
Well, I think as JWs, we not only didn't know the person, we didn't know ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's what it takes when you leave is, like you mentioned, love language. Well, I read the 5 languages of love long after I was a witness, because that wasn't self-growth, and we weren't taught to do that. That's not what we spent our time educating ourselves with. So it takes a while to be out to realize, like, especially when I know I was 18, my ex-husband was 20 when we got married, we pretty much grew up together. We were children. I look at now, like when my kids were 18, thinking, oh my God, I was married at this age. Like they don't even know, what you want to do. You don't know what you want to, you don't know who you are. And we were never taught self-discovery. So realizing not to be sabotaged once we are out, to learn who you are first, to know who, the kind of person, like Gary said, what you're bringing to the table means that you have to know yourself. Like, these are my strengths. This is my love language. These are my goals. This is what I want to achieve in life and what I want to be. We were never taught to do any of that self-discovery.
Your who you are is not important. Who you are in reference to the church is important. Your position and your activity in the church, but you as a person is not important. So in the end, a lot of those marriages are no better than arranged marriages, really, because you don't know the person. So yeah, I was 22. My ex-wife was 18. She was 18 by 2 days. Get that. Like, man, now as a grown man, I'm like, who the heck doesn't like pull me aside and go, dude, what are you doing?
I know I had my high school graduation and then my bridal shower.
See?
You know, it's like,
And
it's
it was
insane.
okay with everybody, right? It was
Right.
okay. Yeah. No one told me this is crazy, dude. She turned 18 on Thursday. We got married on Saturday. 400 people at my wedding. Everybody fine with it. Next. Christine.
This is really funny. Thanks for that memory. Actually, I was proposed to during my high school graduation, like a baby, didn't know anything. Too funny. I think that there's two stages we're in, and to know where you are, either you need your own healing and to do your own inner work and you step aside from a relationship, or if you have been doing the healing, then you actually get to go deeper when you are with someone. It's the alchemical marriage, to be able to take the skills and self-regulation and really knowing who you are and then bring it into relationship, because we are meant for connection. We're not meant to be alone. And so just, know where you are. Either you need the time for healing or you are ready to grow with another person.
Love it. Bree, do you have a share? Here we go.
I was thinking when Judy made her comment, as witnesses, we're all taught to think and view life the same, like where there's no difference, there's no sense of individuality. And so I find myself, or I have found myself, thinking that other people around me now view and think and view life the same way that I do. And we're all so different. And so learning that just how those differences is what makes the world go around, not assuming that another person thinks and views life the same way that I think and view life, and letting that be okay, not making that mean it's right or wrong, but allowing them to have the views and understanding another person more instead of assuming that they view things the same that I view them, but letting them, and it not being right or wrong is beautiful.
I love that share because, again, as witnesses, we're trying to box everybody like this is right. Everything in alignment with the religion is right. So if someone veered off of that, they were wrong, right? But now you're saying, you know what? Be you. Let me discover you. It's not right or wrong. Who are you? And it's a beautiful journey for all of us. Okay. Gary, we got 1 minute left.
Okay. I think one of the great advantages that we have as post JWs is that we can communicate male with female freely, and not feel like, oh, I'm spending too much time talking to Christine or to Bree or to Judy. Just recently, 3 female friends of mine that will probably never be anything but friends taught me some of the greatest life lessons I've ever heard about relationships and about boundaries and things like that. I doubt I ever would have heard those things from a man. It was a woman's perspective. And if you're a man that's looking for a woman, you really need to have a woman's perspective on things, and vice versa.
Such a great share. So true. I know women about 1,000 times better than I did when I was a witness, because I have a lot of female friends and I've had a lot of discussions. And when you're a witness, you're clueless. You poor ladies dealing with us clueless men and marrying our clueless selves. I apologize to all of you.
Those children. Yeah.
But thank you all for joining us. It's been real. Thank you. We had a great session. Thank you all for watching us live or in the replay. Go ahead and have a great Sunday fun day. Enjoy yourselves. See you next week.